all over for Emmerdale's Moira as she is jailed for double murder. Celia Daniels, Jay Griffiths, might be dead, but that won't stop her having one last evil laugh in Emmerdale. This woman has played an absolute blinder, having successfully run a modern slavery ring and drugs operation under everyone's noses, then conned Moira Dingle, Natalie J. Robb, into going into business with her, and now she's set Moira up to take the fall for her crimes, with a little help from Robert Sugden, Ryan Hawley. All that, and she's dead. The groundwork was laid for Moira's takedown when she happened to tell Celia she needed to take some stuff to the charity shop. Spotting an opportunity, Celia offered to do it for her, but instead nabbed the items and used the blanket to wrap up Anya's dead body. She then buried the body on Moira's land, a lethal combination of DNA and location. Joe Tate then played into Celia's cold, dead hands when he blackmailed Robert Sugden into planting the passports and IDs of Celia's slaves on Moira's farm to frame her for the crime so that he could get his hands on their land. Celia had also forged Moira's signature on fraudulent invoices, meaning the evidence has been stacking up against the farmer from all directions. So, with this overwhelming trail of evidence and a new dead body to investigate, the police show up and arrest Moira and Kane Dingle for murder, in front of their children. They're both horrified, but Kane knows the drill and keeps stum as he's interrogated, whereas Moira, who bleats on about her innocence, can't hide her emotions when she's given a bold piece of new news. Celia is dead. Now things are looking really bad, and even Moira can't deny the evidence against her. Kane is released without charge, but he learns from Caleb Milligan that one of the bodies was found in Moira's blanket. This sends Kane into a rage, and he refuses to leave without his wife. It's romantic, really. His wife's DNA is literally all over a cadaver, and he still sticks by her. Aw. The DNA is the final nail in the coffin, and Moira is dealt the blow. She is charged with Celia and Anya's murders. Kane's boots thudded on the stone floor behind her. He didn't say anything at first, just leaned against the counter, arms folded, eyes fixed on her reflection in the window. They'd barely slept. Every creak of the house, every distant engine had sounded like the law coming to tear their lives apart. "You're gonna drink that or just glare it to death," Kane muttered. Moira gave a weak snort. "Does it matter?" Before he could answer, the knock came. Not a neighborly tap, not someone popping by for sugar or gossip. This was sharp, official, final. Kane straightened instantly. Moira felt her chest tighten as she turned. 3 uniformed officers stood on the step, rain glistening on their hats. Behind them, a plain car idled, engine humming like a warning. "Moira Dingle?" the lead officer asked. Her mouth was dry. "Yes. We're arresting you on suspicion of murder." The words echoed, hollow and unreal, as if spoken in a room with no walls. Kane stepped forward, anger flaring. "You're joking." "I'm afraid not." Handcuffs clicked shut around Moira's wrists as the house began to fill with noise, footsteps, raised voices, the kids appearing at the top of the stairs, confusion written across their faces. Moira caught Maddie's eye, then Isaac's, then Kyle's. She tried to smile. It came out crooked. "It's all right," she said, though nothing was. "It's a mistake." But even as she said it, doubt crept in, because Celia Daniels was dead. And someone had made sure it would look like Moira killed her. The interview room smelled of stale coffee and disinfectant. Moira sat rigid in the plastic chair, cuffs removed but their weight still heavy on her wrists. Across the table, the detective flicked through a file thick with her name. "We've found 2 bodies," he said calmly. "Anya Petrov and Celia Daniels." Moira swallowed. "Celia's dead?" "Yes." The world tilted. Celia, smug, sharp-eyed Celia, dead. The woman who'd smiled at her across kitchen tables, who'd wormed her way into her trust, who'd turned Moira's own kindness into a weapon. "How?" Moira whispered. "We're still investigating." He paused. "But both deaths are being treated as homicide." Moira shook her head, breath coming fast. "You've got this wrong. She was involved in awful things. She ran people, slaves, drugs. She set me up." The detective's expression didn't change. "That's a serious allegation." "She forged my signature. She buried a body on my land." Which body would that be? Moira hesitated. The silence stretched. The one wrapped in your blanket, he prompted. Her stomach dropped. Kane's interview was shorter. He said nothing, stared straight ahead, jaw clenched, fury simmering beneath the surface. He knew better than to give them anything. When they finally released him, the relief was short-lived. Caleb Milligan was waiting outside. They found her blanket, Caleb said quietly, with the body. Kane froze. What? Anya, wrapped up in Moira's stuff, buried on your land. Something in Kane snapped. He turned back toward the station doors, fists balled. I'm not leaving without her. Moira spent the night in a cell, the walls closing in, memories looping like a cruel film reel. Celia's smile, the charity shop bag, the invoices she'd barely glanced at. Trust misplaced again. She thought of the kids, Kane, the farm. And somewhere, deep beneath the fear, a cold realization took hold. Celia Daniels might be dead, but she'd won. The charge came the next morning. Moira Dingle was formally accused of the murders of Celia Daniels and Anya Petrov. Kane was there when they told her. He didn't say a word, just reached for her hand as the solicitor spoke in careful, measured tones. Moira watched his face crumble, just slightly, and that hurt worse than the cuffs ever could. I didn't do this, she whispered. I know, and I'm not going anywhere. News traveled fast in the village, too fast. By the time Moira was transferred to remand, Emmerdale was buzzing with whispers, judgment, shock. Charity Dingle was incandescent. They've stitched her up. Mackenzie hovered on the edge of panic. DNA doesn't lie, Charity. No, but people do. Prison was gray, endless, stripped of everything that made Moira herself. The other inmates clocked her quickly. Farmer, accused murderer, tabloid fodder. At night, she lay awake replaying every decision that had led her there, every moment she'd ignored her gut. Celia's voice echoed in her head, syrupy and smug. You should have known better, Moira. Kane visited every chance he got, sat opposite her, hands flat on the table, eyes never leaving her face. They've got Robert, Kane said one day. Stiffened. Robert? He planted the passports. Joe Tate made him do it. Hope flared. Then they'll see. Kane shook his head. Robert's lawyered up, and Joe's vanished. Of course he had. The trial was brutal. Every piece of evidence laid bare. The forged invoices, the blanket, the land, the DNA. Moira took the stand, voice shaking but steady enough. I trusted her, she said. That was my mistake, not murder. The prosecution painted her greedy, careless, complicit. By the time the jury retired, Moira felt hollowed out. The verdict came back unanimous. Guilty. The word hit like a physical blow. Moira barely heard the rest, sentencing, gasps, Kane shouting her name as officers led her away. She didn't cry. Not until the cell door slammed shut. Life inside settled into a rhythm she never wanted. Work, count, silence. The weight of knowing the world had moved on without her. Kane wrote every day, I'm still here. I always will be.